Did you know that while you sleep tonight, your blood sugar may be silently destroying your kidneys, damaging the vessels in your eyes, and weakening your heart, all without you feeling absolutely anything? That is the most terrifying thing about diabetes and high blood sugar. It does not hurt, it does not warn. It works in silence, especially during the hours when you are asleep and your body has no conscious defense to protect itself. And the vast majority of people who live with elevated blood sugar today make exactly the same mistake. They worry about what they eat during the day. They measure their glucose after breakfast or lunch and think that is enough. But no one has told them what happens between midnight and 6 in the morning. No one has explained that this sleep window is actually the most critical moment for their metabolism. I am Dr. John Lupin, and for more than 20 years, I have been studying how the human body can regulate itself, recover, and strengthen itself using what nature has made available to us long before pharmaceutical companies existed. I have seen patients who came to my office tired, frustrated, carrying a never-ending list of medications, and a feeling that their body no longer had a solution. And many of them found, in specific plants used correctly and at the right time, a transformation that no pill had given them. Today I'm going to talk to you about one leaf, a single leaf that you have probably seen in your neighborhood, in the market, or perhaps in the yard of some relative. A leaf that, when boiled in water and consumed 30 minutes before bed, activates natural glucose regulation mechanisms in your body that work while you rest. It is not magic, it is not an empty promise, it is biochemistry, it is ethnobotany validated by modern studies, and it is accessible to anyone regardless of their economic situation. I want you to think for a moment about how you have been feeling in the last few months. Perhaps you are over 50 years old and your doctor has already talked to you about prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. Perhaps you take metformin or some other medication to control your blood sugar, but deep down you feel that you are only covering a hole without solving the root problem. Perhaps you wake up at night with thirst or with that strange fatigue that does not improve even though you sleep. Perhaps your feet tingle a little or your vision is no longer as sharp as before. If any of those things sounds familiar, then what I'm going to explain to you today was made exactly for you, because the human body is not designed to give up. It is designed to adapt, to recover, to seek balance. The problem is that for decades we have given it the wrong tools, or simply no natural tool at all, or we have given it synthetic compounds that force temporary results without strengthening anything. And the organism, which is infinitely more intelligent than we believe, ends up resisting those compounds over time. This leaf acts in a completely different way. It speaks to the body in a language it knows, the language of natural compounds with which human life has evolved for thousands of years. And the result is not a sudden drop in glucose that leaves you shaky and sweaty at 3 in the morning. It is a gentle, sustained regulation that occurs in sync with the natural cycles of your organism while you sleep. In this video, I am going to explain exactly what this leaf is, what science says about its active compounds, how it directly affects insulin sensitivity, and why the effect is significantly greater when consumed during nighttime hours. And I am going to give you the complete protocol, the exact amount, the preparation method, and the precise schedule so that you can start this very night. Stay until minute 15, because that is exactly where I give you the step-by-step. Do not skip it, because the difference between this working or not working for you lies in the details I am going to share with you at that moment. Nature has made available to you one of the most powerful tools to care for your metabolism. Today, you are going to learn how to use it. Let me ask you a question that perhaps no one has asked you before. When was the last time your doctor talked to you about a plant? When was the last time you left a consultation with a prescription that did not include a laboratory medication, but a natural resource with scientific backing? For the majority of people watching me right now, the answer is never. And that is not by chance. The conventional medical system is trained to treat symptoms. High blood sugar, metformin, high blood pressure, antihypertensive, cholesterol out of range, statins. That is the cycle. And I am not saying that those medications do not have their place, because in critical situations they are necessary, but there is a huge difference between using a medication as a bridge while the body recovers and depending on it indefinitely without ever asking what is causing the problem from within. Type 2 diabetes does not appear overnight. It is the result of years, sometimes decades, of defective communication between glucose and the cells of the body. The cells stop listening to the insulin signal, they become deaf to it, and the glucose, which has nowhere to go, begins to circulate in the blood at levels that damage everything it touches. That has a name: insulin resistance, and it is the heart of the problem. Now, what do most conventional treatments do? They force the pancreas to produce more insulin or make the liver release less glucose, but none of those strategies actually resolve the resistance itself. None of them return to the cells their ability to listen. It is like turning up the volume on a phone that has a broken speaker. The sound increases, but the communication still does not work. What many doctors do not know or do not mention is that there are plant-derived compounds that act directly on that resistance, not on insulin production, not on the liver, but on the cell itself, helping it recover its sensitivity, its ability to receive the signal and process glucose correctly. And one of the most studied in the last decade comes from a plant that grows naturally throughout Latin America, that is accessible, that has centuries of documented use in traditional medicine, and that modern science is beginning to understand with much greater depth. The most common mistake that people with diabetes or prediabetes make is not only what they eat, it is the moment when they ignore their metabolism. During the day, the body has allies: movement, sunlight, muscular activity. All those factors help glucose to be processed. But when night comes, all those allies disappear. The body enters a different state, metabolism slows down, and if blood glucose remains high at that moment, it has no escape. It stays circulating for hours, causing silent and constant damage. That is where the nighttime window comes in, a concept that functional medicine knows well, but that rarely reaches patients. During sleep, the body carries out cellular repair processes, regulates hormones, balances the nervous system. If you give it the correct compound in the correct form just before bed, that repair process also includes regulation of glucose metabolism. The body takes advantage of that calm to do the work it could not complete during the day. That is exactly what the leaf I am going to present to you today does. It is no coincidence that the grandmothers of many Latin American families boiled certain leaves before bed. They did not know about acetogenins or flavonoids, but they knew how to observe. They knew that certain people who drank that tea slept better, woke up with more energy, and over time saw improvement in conditions that village doctors did not know how to treat. The plant is called soursop, known scientifically as Annona muricata, and its leaves contain a concentration of bioactive compounds that has caught the attention of researchers in Colombia, Brazil, Mexico, and several Asian countries where it is also used traditionally. In 2019, a study published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology analyzed the effect of soursop leaf extracts on markers of insulin resistance, and the results were significant enough to open a line of research that continues to grow today. But before getting into the scientific details, I want you to understand something fundamental. This leaf is not an automatic replacement for your current treatment. It is support. It is a tool that, used consistently at the right time, can help your body recover a function it should never have lost. And that difference between replacing and strengthening is what defines the philosophy of well-applied natural medicine. In the next section, I am going to explain exactly what is inside that leaf, how each compound acts in your organism, and why science is increasingly agreeing with what Latin American tradition has known for generations. When you pick up a soursop leaf and look at it against the light, it seems completely ordinary, green, simple, with nothing to distinguish it at first glance from any other tree leaf. But inside that leaf, there is a chemical composition that laboratories around the world have been trying to understand for decades, and in some cases trying to replicate synthetically, because what that leaf contains in the exact combination that nature built is extraordinarily difficult to manufacture artificially. Let me explain what is inside, but in a way that makes real sense to you, without terms that confuse you or technicalities that take you away from the central point. The first group of compounds that interests us is called acetogenins. They are unique molecules of the annona family. That is, they are only found in plants of that botanical family, and soursop is one of the richest in them. The acetogenins have a capacity that researchers have documented in multiple studies. They interfere with certain cellular processes that are hyperactivated in altered metabolic conditions in the context of type 2 diabetes. This means they help modulate the activity of cells that have become dysfunctional after years of exposure to elevated glucose. They do not destroy them, they reorient them. The second key compound is corosylic acid. This is perhaps the most studied in direct relation to blood glucose. Corosylic acid acts as an activator of glucose transporters in muscle cells and adipose tissue. For that to make sense, imagine that every cell in your body has a small door through which glucose must enter to be transformed into energy. That door needs a key to open, and that key is insulin. With insulin resistance, the lock becomes oxidized. The key exists, but it no longer fits well. What corosylic acid does is act as a lubricant on that lock. It does not replace the key, it helps it work as it should. And when those doors begin to open correctly, glucose stops accumulating in the blood and returns to its real function, which is to nourish the organism. The third group are the flavonoids, especially quercetin and kaempferol, present in significant concentrations in the soursop leaf. Flavonoids are widely known as natural anti-inflammatories. And this is relevant because there is a direct connection between low-grade chronic inflammation and insulin resistance. They are not separate phenomena. Sustained inflammation in adipose and muscle tissue is one of the factors that most contributes to cells stopping responding correctly to insulin. Reducing that inflammation is not a secondary benefit. It is a central part of the metabolic recovery mechanism. A study published in the Asian Pacific Journal of Tropical Biomedicine evaluated the effect of the aqueous extract of soursop leaves, that is, exactly what is obtained by boiling the leaves in water, on fasting glucose levels in models of induced diabetes. The results showed statistically significant reductions in glycemia over a period of consistent use. What makes that study especially relevant is that it used an aqueous preparation, not laboratory capsules or high-tech concentrated extracts, just hot water and leaves, the same method I'm going to teach you in a few minutes. On the other hand, researchers from the University of Antioquia in Colombia, one of the most recognized institutions in Latin American ethnopharmacology, have documented the effect of annona muricata compounds on markers of oxidative stress in patients with metabolic alterations. Oxidative stress is, in simple terms, the damage that free radicals cause to cells when metabolism is deregulated. In people with diabetes or prediabetes, that oxidative stress is permanently elevated, and that accelerates cellular aging, damages the kidneys, and deteriorates blood vessels. The antioxidants present in the soursop leaf act as a shield on that process, not eliminating it completely, but reducing it to levels that the body can handle more efficiently. Now, why is the effect greater when consumed before bed? During deep sleep, the body enters what is known as the dominant parasympathetic state. In that state, the digestive system works differently. The absorption of certain compounds is more efficient, and the organism dedicates its resources to repair and hormonal regulation processes. Cortisol, which is the stress hormone and one of the greatest antagonists of insulin, reaches its lowest levels during the first hours of sleep. That creates a biological window where the compounds from the soursop leaf encounter less resistance to act. The body is calm, receptive in restoration mode, and the flavonoids, corosylic acid, and acetogenins work in that environment in a way they would not during daytime activity when cortisol is high and metabolism is in response to environment mode. There is something else I want you to know, because your health is not just glucose. People who use this leaf consistently also report something that the numbers do not always capture. They sleep better, wake up with less stiffness, feel that their blood pressure stabilizes over time, that is not a coincidence. The same flavonoids that modulate metabolic inflammation also have a mild vasodilator effect, which favors circulation during sleep and reduces the load on the heart during those critical nighttime hours. Science has not said the last word about this leaf. Research continues, but what already exists is solid enough for you to make an informed decision. And that decision does not require abandoning anything. It requires adding something simple, accessible, and with backing that goes far beyond tradition. Now that you know why it works, it is time for you to learn exactly how to use it. In the next section, I give you the complete protocol with every detail you need to start this very night. We have reached the moment you were waiting for, and I want you to pay close attention to what comes next, because the difference between getting real results and getting none lies in the details of this protocol, not in the plan itself, but in how it is prepared, in what quantity it is used, and above all, in the exact moment it is consumed. The first thing you need to know is where to get the leaves. The soursop is a tree that grows naturally in almost all of Latin America. If you live in a tropical or subtropical area, it is likely that there is a tree near where you live without you having noticed it with this intention. You can also find the dried leaves in natural product markets, herbal stores, or shops specializing in traditional medicine. If you get fresh leaves, even better. If you only find dried leaves, they also work perfectly, as long as they are from a reliable source and have not been stored for more than 6 months, because the bioactive compounds degrade over time. For a nighttime preparation, you need 5 fresh medium-sized leaves or a heaping tablespoon of crushed dried leaves, nothing more. You do not need to mix them with other plants for them to work. You do not need to add sugar, honey, or any sweetener. The tea alone, just as it comes out of the preparation, is enough. The preparation process is as follows. Take 500 ml of filtered water, which equals 2 normal cups, and bring it to the fire. While you wait for it to start heating, wash the leaves well under running water. When the water is about to boil, add the leaves, reduce the heat to low, and let them simmer gently for 10 minutes, no more. If it boils for too long on high heat, part of the volatile compounds, especially the more delicate flavonoids, degrade with excessive heat. 10 minutes on low heat is the exact point where extraction is optimal without compromising the integrity of the active compounds. After 10 minutes, remove from the heat, cover the preparation, and let it rest for 5 more minutes. That resting time allows the last compounds to finish dissolving in the water before straining. Then strain the liquid, discard the leaves, and let the tea cool to a temperature you can drink comfortably. Do not drink it boiling hot. Do not drink it cold. Warm is the ideal temperature for the digestive system to absorb it without effort. The time of consumption is 30 minutes before going to bed, not 1 hour before, not right when you turn off the light, 30 minutes. That is the time the organism needs to absorb the initial compounds and begin the metabolic process that will continue during the hours of sleep. If you normally go to bed at 10 at night, prepare your tea at 9:30, turn that moment into a ritual, a space of calm before rest, because the mental state with which you go to sleep also influences the quality of the nighttime repair process that this protocol seeks to enhance. As for frequency, to obtain measurable results, you need consistency. The body does not change in 3 days. Deep metabolic processes, recovery of insulin sensitivity, reduction of chronic oxidative stress are processes that develop over weeks. What the available scientific evidence suggests, and what I have observed in people who have followed this protocol with discipline, is that between the 2nd and 4th week of daily use, changes begin to be noticed. Some see them in their fasting glucose measurements. Others feel them first in sleep quality, in the energy with which they wake up, in the reduction of that nighttime thirst that interrupts rest so much. Now, there are situations in which you should be cautious. If you are pregnant, this is not a protocol for you. If you take anticoagulants such as warfarin, consult your doctor before starting, because some compounds in the leaf may enhance the effect of those medications. If you take medications to lower blood sugar and decide to incorporate this protocol, monitor your glucose more frequently during the first 2 weeks, because the combination may bring your levels lower than you expect. It is not a serious risk if you are attentive, but it is information you need to have. And this is something I want you to hear with great clarity. This protocol is not a signal to stop your medications on your own. If over time and under supervision your levels improve in a sustained way, that is a conversation you will have with your doctor with numbers in hand. Autonomy over your health is built with information, with documented results, and with conscious decisions, not with sudden impulses. I want to close this video by speaking to you directly. If you made it this far, it is because something inside you continues to search. It continues to believe that your body has more capacity to recover than you have been told. And that intuition is correct. The human body is resilient in a way that medicine often underestimates, not because doctors are bad, but because the system they work in does not have the time or incentive to teach you to be your own ally. You are over 50 years old, perhaps over 60. And that does not mean that your metabolism is condemned. It means that you have decades of lived experience in your body and that you deserve tools that respect it, that work with your biology and not against it. This leaf is one of those tools. Simple, accessible, and backed by a combination of ancestral wisdom and modern evidence that is becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. Start tonight, not tomorrow. Tonight, 5 leaves, 500 milliliters of water, 10 minutes on low heat, 30 minutes before bed. That is all you need to take the first step. If this video was useful to you, leave me a comment with the word yoga, and I will send you a document with the complete protocol in writing so you always have it at hand. And if you know someone who is struggling with blood sugar, share this video with that person. It may be exactly the information they were needing. Your health is worth the attempt. Your body deserves this opportunity.